Frontier just finished their fleet carrier announcement live stream, and I'm just going to quickly run over everything we know about the fleet carriers so far. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous with Down to Earth Astronomy. So let's talk about fleet carriers. Now, first of all, remember that everything in this video is subject to change. We do have 2 betas going out before these things hit the live server, so changes are bound to be made. Prices can change, a lot of things can change, so keep that in mind as we go through this. But first, a very quick recap of what we already knew before the live stream. First of all, carriers are personally owned by a single owner, not a squadron. They will cost 5 billion credits as an initial investment. There will be weekly upkeeps. They will have a 500 light year jump range. There will be 16 landing pads, 4 large, 4 mediums, and 8 small. They will require fuel to jump, special type of fuel called tritium, that you can buy either off the market or it can be mined from ice rocks as either surface or subsurface deposits. So not core deposits, not laser mining, but surface or subsurface deposits. Carriers are indestructible and cannot be damaged. However, they will shoot back if someone decides to try and shoot at them, much like stations do. But let's start about how you can actually acquire yourself a fleet carrier. Well, if you have the funds to actually get it, you can go to one of, I believe, 12 systems scattered across the bubble, where there will be basically dry docks or like showrooms where you can go and you can see the fleet carriers and you can buy yourself one there. Once you buy it, it will then be put into orbit around the nearest planet, from where you then can begin using it. In the live stream, Frontier showed a Drake class carrier. Now, it seems like they've done the prep work to add multiple types later on, but for now, it seems that is the only type that is available. It comes with some core services available as default that you get, and with that comes a 10 million per week upkeep that you have to buy. The fleet carrier will have their own wallet that you can deposit or withdraw credits from, and every week at the server tick, the weekly upkeep will be withdrawn from that wallet. However, there are many ways to pad up that wallet, as we'll see in a second. As you're adding more and more services to the fleet carriers, the weekly upkeep will increase. So the more services, the higher the weekly upkeep. There are also storage on the carrier itself. It has 25,000 units of storage. This is both normal like tonnage storage where you can store your own commodities. It's only the owner that has the option to store commodities at the fleet carrier. Visitors cannot store commodities, only the owner. But this storage will also be used when you're fitting new services. So apart from the services as you add them having a upkeep cost, they will also take part of your storage, because obviously they take space on board the carrier. So keep in mind, the more you add, the less storage you will have and the higher the upkeep. There will also be, it seems, a separate storage for fuel. In the video they showed there was storage for 1,000 tons of this tritium fuel. How much you need per jump is not really clear at this point. On the main screen of the carrier, you will have a list of services available. You will have the crew lounge, from where you can manage the crew members that's going to run the daily operation of your fleet carrier for you. There's also a redemption office, which is essentially just a interstellar factor where you can sell vouchers, bounty vouchers, again at a reduced price. Some of it will go to the guys running the redemption office and some will go to the fleet carrier owner. There's of course a tritium deposit where you can deposit your tritium into the fuel tanks, and guests can also donate tritium to the fleet carrier so the owner doesn't have to go and purchase it all by himself. Then there's a shipyard. It's essentially the same shipyard as you see on a station, where you can buy ships and you can store your own ships if you like. More about the buying ships in a second. Then there's an option for a black market, also pretty self-explanatory. There's a commodity market, which we'll also come back and talk about in a second. And then there's the carrier management section, where the owner of the carrier can make all the settings and changes and generally just manage the carrier as he sees fit. Other than that, from the main screen, you can get access to stuff like rearm, refuel, repair, and also remote engineering, it seems, if those services, of course, have been available by the owner. But per default, the carrier only comes with the crew management, the tritium deposit, the normal commodity market, and the carrier management section. All the others are something you'll have to buy as optional extras. When it comes to managing your carriers, some systems will have the carrier administration service where additional services can be purchased. You can enable and disable services even remotely, but also on the fly. So if you want to reduce your running costs while you're out with your carrier in the black, you can shut down individual services and then boot them back up later if you need them. When it comes to jumping, you can either choose just a system and it will just go into a random spot in that system, or you can choose a specific body and your carrier will jump to that body. That could be a moon. When you jump, your carrier will then be put into orbit around that moon. Before a jump, there will be a 1 hour spin-up time before the carrier jumps. So from when you click jump, it will take an hour before the carrier actually jumps while the crew prepares the carrier. After the jump is completed, there is another hour of cooldown before you can initiate the next jump. So at the minimum, there will be 2 hours between jumps at a maximum of 500 light years each. When you jump with a fleet carrier, it is also subject to wear and tear. Some of the services on board will be worn down when you jump, and there will be a cost to maintain this. This doesn't seem to be that high, but you should keep in mind that if you have a lot of services on your ship, it can be a costly affair, not only in tritium, but also in maintenance cost to keep the services up and running. These funds will of course be withdrawn from the fleet carrier wallet. Fleet carriers cannot jump into permit locked systems, regardless of whether the owner have access to that system or not. It cannot jump into a permit locked system, period. As I said, fleet carriers have their own wallet where the owner can deposit and withdraw money. You of course can deposit money to pay up for all these different services, but you can also set a tariff. That means if people use your carrier for rearming, refueling, repairing, when they buy ships, stuff like that, off the carrier, well, they can pay a small service fee. These service fees are based on the normal price on a station, and you can then set a tariff from anywhere from 0 to 100%, meaning either you give it out to the standard prices that people already have at the normal stations, or it can be twice the price. This does not, however, affect the commodity market. We'll come back to that in a second. If your wallet runs out of money, you will begin to build up a debt that you will have to pay. As this happens, services will slowly begin to shut off and the fleet carrier will become less and less functional. Eventually, if the debt goes too high, don't know how high yet, the fleet carrier will be automatically decommissioned, meaning that it will be removed from your account and you will have to buy a new one. Anybody who has access to the fleet carrier beforehand, who has modules or ship, can now ship transfer those modules and ships away from the carrier, but you cannot dock at a fleet carrier that has been decommissioned. When it comes to the commodity market, what you can do as the owner of a fleet carrier is you can set up buy and sell prices for various objects. So that could be you have a fleet carrier and you want to buy a specific object. That could be the tritium fuel. Remember, tritium fuel is a commodity. It's going to go into your cargo hold as it's a mineable material. So you could set up buy prices for that, and commanders who then dock at your fleet carrier can then sell that tritium to you at the price listed. This is not affected by tariffs. Similarly, it seems you can also put items up for sale if you have a surplus of anything. This can all be managed through the carrier management screen. In the crew section, this is where you add additional services to the ship. There will both be an upfront cost for adding a new service. One of them they showed, it was around 50 million for an additional service as an upfront cost, and then an additional weekly cost. In the live stream, they showed the weekly upkeep to go up from 10 to around 13 million with a lot of the different services on. So I don't expect that we're going to see upkeep costs in the hundreds of millions, but probably expect the weekly upkeep to be somewhere between 10 and 20 million. The shipyard is a little different than what you might be used to from a station. Well, from a visitor to a fleet carrier's perspective, it's mostly the same, where you can buy ships, store ships, that kind of thing. As the owner, however, if you want to offer ships for sale at your fleet carrier, you will have to buy them yourself first. So you can go into the management section. You can say, I want to buy a certain number of a certain type of ship. You don't have to actually fly them there. It seems they will just be brought to the ship for you. But once you have those ships available, they will then be put up for sale on the fleet carrier, and they will be having the additional tariff added to the price. Same goes with modules. However, you will not be able to buy individual modules for sale. You kind of buy them in packs, and you can either buy like low-end modules, medium, high-end modules, all that kind of stuff. So you can buy groupings of modules and put those up similar to ships for sale on the carrier. Some people can buy, and I would assume they are also affected by the tariff. Then there was the redemption options. We talked about that at the beginning. It's basically an instead of factor where you can sell your bounty vouchers at a reduced price, and then part of that goes to the fleet carrier owner. When it comes to docking access to your fleet carriers, you have the options to set it so that no one can dock at it apart from you. Only your friends can dock, only your squad members can dock, your friends and your squad members can dock, or everybody can dock. You have the option to exclude commanders with notoriety, meaning people who have done something illegal recently and got caught. So if they have been fighting another commander, or they've been shooting NPC police ships or clean ships in general, they will have notoriety and won't be able to access your carrier. Or well, you can set it so they can't access your carrier. You can of course also allow it. It's up to your choice. And then of course there's livery, where you can buy, I would assume, paint jobs and maybe even ship kits. I actually don't know. They didn't go into too much detail about exactly what would be available here, but I don't expect this to be much different than what we have for the normal ships today, where you can buy it for arcs, prices and all that. Of course, we will have to wait until we get this thing launched. But that is my recap. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to keep yourself updated on the fleet carrier as they develop and want to see them in action as the beta launch, then go down and hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, and until next time, I will see you guys in space.